On this week's episode of Ladies Aboard, I talk about the initial transitions and sacrifices that I had to make to move from land to sea, some of the in-betweens, and I climb aboard a 1977 motor sailor, a shucker, named Pearl.
Isn't that great?
What's up, ladies? So, just chilling at the little Cruisers Beach in Thompson Bay. I want to talk to you about going from land to sea and, kind of the transition as such. For myself, personally, it wasn't that difficult to move out of, this big giant house with a 2-car garage, a big backyard, and so on, onto a 35-foot sailboat. The reason it wasn't really a struggle for me is because I'm kind of a gypsy soul. I've kind of always kept my possessions very minimal. I've moved around a lot, and I didn't get attached to things. It was easier for me to let go of these things, knowing that I can't take them with me on the boat, knowing what lies ahead and the experiences I'm going to gain by selling these things, and most importantly, the money coming in was funding this journey. It was going into the kitty, and here we are. Like, look at this view. All right, so today's main focus is going to be the convenience of being in a house, living on land, having cars, and having everything at your disposal to, well, not. So to start out, let's talk about the galley or the kitchen. So back in the house, you got your nice big kitchen. I had a full-size fridge. I had a big conventional oven. I had storage space everywhere, and all these tiny little appliances that I'm like, ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that. Ooh, I'll use that. And then in reality, once you started selling things off, how often do you actually use, well, a lot of that stuff? I know I didn't. With all the conveniences that come in a typical kitchen on land, you're not really giving that up on a boat. If anything, you're gaining more appreciation for what you do have. You learn to work with, just a tiny little barbecue and a 2-burner stove. You learn to live without a microwave. The prep work and the space, you don't have all this counter space to work with. A lot of us only have like this much space. I can't stress it enough. You learn to appreciate what you're doing. So moving on, the dishwasher. Every night we'd load the dishwasher after dinner, run it overnight while we're sleeping, and put away the dishes in the morning while we drink our coffee. Now, you finish your meal, you put the dishes in the sink, you wash them, you dry them, they get put away. Again, space. So let's move on to the bedroom. Ooh la la. I'm talking about the closet space, ladies. We got the big closets, we got the big dressers, the nightstands, and just all these places that you can stash pretty much everything. But most importantly, your clothes. Well, depending on your journey, most of those clothes are not going to be going with you. So we went from having a full walk-in size closet, 2 big dressers, just stocked full of clothes, down to 4 bins, 2 for him, 2 for me, and I think I've got 1 drawer for all my bathing suits because that's pretty much all I wear. I recently had to go home, and it's winter, and I'm used to wearing bikinis and shorts and barefoot for days, and I had to go back to Canada. Good thing I still had my running shoes. Good thing I still kept some jeans, and I put my winter coat in a vacuum seal bag stashed into a very, very deep cubby, and I haven't seen it since we moved onto the boat, up until I needed it. But that's the thing, I needed it. So entertainment. Ladies, you know as well as I do, once you start watching a show and you get hooked, you need to keep watching the show. What do you watch it on? I mean, we both have laptops, so anytime we want to watch TV, he can watch whatever he wants on his laptop, I can watch whatever I want on my laptop, and it's kind of just what we do. Most of the time we watch things together though, so that's a plus. So of course that brings us to, those two big ticket items that you're gonna have to part with if you want to move on to a boat. And that's the couch and the bed. We had a king-size bed. We had a big giant L-shaped couch with a nice little ottoman that, kind of tucked into it and made for a great movie day space. And, those are two things that we really, really enjoyed. Well, we couldn't bring them on a 35-foot boat with us, now could we? No. So, we compromised. So, comfort. The bed and the couch. Two big things that are really, really hard to part with before you move into a tiny space. But for us, again, it was materialistic things and we could let them go. We were used to sleeping on the boat on weekends, but what we had set up on the boat for weekends wasn't quite gonna cut it for full-time live aboard. So what we did was we bought a king-size 10-inch thick memory foam mattress, just a cheapish one from Walmart, and we cut that baby up. So now we've got a couch slash day bed on the port side settee, and we've got the other side on top of the water tank on the starboard settee, and we kind of rigged something up in between so we can slide the starboard side over to the port side, and it makes a king-size mattress. Didn't have to give up the luxury. I don't know, the storage in the house, cupboard space, closet space, and so on and so forth. A garage for all of his tools and so on. What did we do? How do we store all that stuff on the boat? It's kind of just working with what you got. We got rid of the holding tank, and in getting rid of the holding tank, that freed up an entire locker up in the V-berth. So, I'm not putting anything that I like up in the V-berth where the holding tank used to be, because that smell kind of lingers. But what can go there is his smelly, greasy tools. Compromise, give up a locker, but he gets to keep his tools. All right, so a long day, really achy and tired from, work or whatever it is that you're doing back on land, and you just want to take a nice hot bubble bath. You can't do that on my boat. We put a lot of thought into, do we really need hot water? And the answer is no, we don't. As for a nice hot shower, solar bags, solar shower bag. That's what we have been living with since we left Canada, and it's worked out just fine. So on the note of hot water, luxury of living in a house, you've got unlimited utilities. You've got unlimited power, you've got unlimited water, you've got unlimited hot water, but these are just luxury items. Once you get away from that and you move on to the boat, again, at least this is for me, you learn to appreciate and kind of conserve what you've got on board. We've got the solar panels, we've got the generator, and we've got our solar shower bag. So that's how we do without utilities, so to speak. All right, last thing on my list. As I stated earlier, there was one thing I shed a tear over when we moved onto the boat and decided to cast off the dock lines. That was my car. It had this mint condition 1985 Volkswagen Cabriolet, and it was my baby. it was a very Candace car. If you know me personally at all, that was a car made for me. That being said, the convenience of having a car. So, as most of you probably know, you go from a car to a dinghy. That's one thing that I made sure I knew how to use before we left home. We got the hard bottom rib and a 9.9 outboard. I said, you know what? That thing's kind of badass. I'm gonna teach myself how to drive it. So I did. It's probably one of the easiest outboards I've ever seen. Like, it's just to look at it, it's very plain and simple and very easy to use. I mean, if I can do it, trust me, you can do it. Ooh, I saw a snake. We're blowing this pop stand. We are on Pearl with Tamar. And tell us about Pearl.
Well, Pearl is a motor sailor, a shucker. 436 is the model, and she's 1977, which we found derelict on a mooring in Miami, and completely gutted her and completely rebuilt her inside and out, keel to tip of the mast. I mean, everything. We're all boat builders, so we kind of, do everything ourselves.
Yeah,
and
that
my husband's I call him my chief engineer. He rewired, replumbed, repowered. The engine compartment was completely gutted. New engine, new generator, new everything. So yeah, we made the boat. Yeah, we made the boat into our own. And sprayed the paint, and the inside was completely. It was actually a eggshell kind of off-white cream color everywhere that you see white, and it was in horrible shape. The gel coat was in just absolutely horrible shape. So we did. I took every piece of wood out and varnished it, and my husband sprayed the whole inside, and it took us about 3 years. But that was about 15 years ago now. So she's got a little bit more wear, but there's always projects. There's always stuff you got to do.
Boat life.
It's boat life. That's right. It only draws 3 foot 2 inches is the design depth. So we can get into some pretty skinny water. It's great for the Bahamas. Yeah. And it alleviates a certain amount of worry.
Yeah.
To not have to, you get into some
in
protected. Well, you can get more protected, in a harbor that, if the wind's really blowing, and it's nice to be in flat water when you sleep.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your favorite item on board?
Well, as I have many favorite items on board, but I really have to say it's my freezer. Yeah. All the other boats, we've been doing this for 40 years, and all my other boats have never really had a real freezer. And we built this one. It was in the shop. It's a big box, and we brought it in, and it's got a really nice, chest tight, top opening, freezer, and separate refrigerator. It's not a spillover unit. It's got 2 real holding plates. Makes cooking and planning meals and and just having fun stuff. When you get a big fish, you got a freezer. You
got somewhere to put it.
You go to a little local store and they've got ice cream. So, let's run back to the boat, put it in the freezer. So I'd have to be my freezer.
Quite envious of that. So on that note, you mentioned the meal prep and everything. It makes it easier. So what is your favorite meal to cook on board?
Well, we love seafood. Yeah, we love seafood. I fry fish, lobster. We do a lot of salads, which we're big into fresh produce. So that's always important, is to keep the fresh produce, which the refrigerator does help. Mostly stovetop. I don't do the oven. It heats up the boat too much, heats up the galley too much. So all my cooking is kind of stovetop stuff. No big elaborate, because you're limited when you can't carry everything. I mean, I've got a lot of storage on this boat, but you still can't carry everything.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say she's got the upper hand with the freezer space, but it's I agree with that.
Yeah,
it's not much
really
different
not that
than
much
home.
different. I mean, your pantry is maybe in the seats of your dinette, or under your floor in your bilge, and that's my pantry, or but.
That was our
It's still
backup
basically
beer.
yeah, the back
Is
yeah,
in the- is in
the
the
cases
middle.
of beer, the boxes of Cheerios that you brought
Yep,
from home,
yep,
you know,
yep,
which
exactly.
I have.
If you got space, you will use it.
You will use it. You will fill it up.
Fill every
You will
nook
fill
and
it
cranny.
up. I'll tell you one thing that we didn't mention before.
Nope.
Is as much as I love my refrigerator and freezer,
Uh-huh.
it is a chest type.
Uh-huh.
And when you storing stuff all the way in the bottom, you gotta pull everything out to get to that block of cheese that you know is down there.
Yeah.
Or the freezer. It's like, okay, I know I've got some chicken left in there. You know.
What would you say is the most difficult thing, or like the worst part about living on a
Part
boat?
of a boat is your water usage. You have to be aware of how much water you use. We have a large water maker. We have a generator, and every other day we probably run it for about an hour, which makes about 25, 26 gallons, an hour, and that does us fine. But in saying that, I still don't just open the tap and let the water run. You know, when you're showering, you get wet, you soak down, you turn the water off while you soak down, and you do whatever washing with the soap, and then you turn the water back on, and then you rinse it, and it's like washing your dishes, brushing your teeth. You just let the water run, because there is a finite amount of it.
Yes.
And to run the water maker it costs power.
Yeah.
So and so you have that issue of it's
More
either
power being
diesel
used.
or gas or just electricity, and there's a limited amount.
So
Because
just a
you're-
quick question pertaining to the water maker, because we don't have one on Lady K, is a lot of people say that they will make a point to use it as often as possible to keep it
Yes.
better
yeah.
maintained.
Yes, the water maker, you have to use it at least more than every three days or so, because it grows algae.
Yeah.
So the more you use it, the cleaner it remains.
And that has to do with the membranes?
The membranes, yeah, the
Okay.
membranes and all, because that salt water goes through those membranes, and all, and so you have a certain amount of the salt that goes overboard, and then the fresh goes into your tank. And again, my chief engineer husband is kind of in charge of all that, but it's still, ours is we have to run the generator, so it's kind of a 110 unit. It's a big unit.
What would you say is your biggest challenge on board? Like, what is?
Well,
What
you
do
have
not
to.
enjoy?
Well, what I get tired of, I think, probably more than digging into the bottom of my refrigerator, is having to keep aware of the weather.
Mhm.
The weather is paramount on a sailboat or any boat.
Any
I mean, it
boat,
doesn't
yeah,
matter.
any
You
boat.
power or sail or whatever. You've got to be aware of what's happening around you, because the weather constantly changes, especially in the Bahamas.
All right, ladies, that's it for this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope I could help. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, or there's something specific that you want to see in a future episode, please leave me a comment below. I'll be sure to get back to you and either answer the question right away or let you know to stay tuned for a future episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye!